Alright, in the last video we set up our navbar along with the router and the search and about component, which we can switch through using the navigation. So now what we're going to do is work on the search component, which is basically the home page. So let's go to search component.html and we're going to add some HTML. So we're going to put an H1 here and we're just going to say need music. And then below that, I'm just going to paste in a paragraph here, just some kind of intro text. Alright, and then under that is going to be our search form. Alright, so in here we're going to have a div. Let's give it a class of form group. And in here we're going to have an input, give it a type of text, and let's see, we're going to give it a name attribute of search str, so search string, and we're going to use ng model, which needs brackets and parentheses. It's a two-way data binding attribute, and that's also going to be search string. Alright, let's give it a class of form control, which is a bootstrap class, and a placeholder that just says search music. Alright, now we're also going to need an event, so I'm going to put that right here. That needs parentheses, and the event action is going to be key up. Okay, so when a key up action is placed, it's going to call a function called search music. Alright, let's save that, and there we go. So that looks pretty good. And then in the search component TS file, we're going to add that search music function. And just to test things out, let's say console.log, and we'll just say test. So now if we go back and we start to type, you can see down here we get test. Okay, so we know that that event is firing. Alright, if we want to get what we put in there, what do we call it? Search string. So we need to add that as a property here. Let's say search str, that's going to be a string, and then we can just say console log this dot search string. Okay, and then as I start to type, you can see that it pops up down here. So we know that that's binding. Alright, now what we want to do here is every time we enter something in here, we want it to basically make an API call to Spotify. So what we need to do is create a service. So in our app folder, we're going to create another folder called services, and let's create a file, and we're going to call this spotify.service.ts. Alright, we're going to bring in the injectable because we want to be able to use dependency injection with this service. That's going to be from Angular Core. Okay, we're also going to be using the HTTP module, and actually that should be capital. HTTP and headers from at Angular/HTTP. Okay, we're also going to be using an observable, so we need the map function. So that's going to be rxjs/add/operator/map. Okay, we'll put our injectable decorator, and then create the class. Alright, so this is going to have a couple properties. It's going to have a search URL. Actually, you know what? We're just going to do the search URL for now. So let's make this private search URL, and that's a string. Alright, now we need a constructor, and we're using the HTTP module, so we have to inject that into the constructor. So we'll say private underscore HTTP HTTP. Alright, now let's create a function called search music, and that's going to take a string, which will be the type of string, and it's also going to take a type, which is going to have the default of artist. Alright, and then down here we're going to take that search URL, this dot search URL equals https api.spotify.com/search, and we can look at the documentation too. Let's say Spotify API, and let's see, so we should have endpoint reference. So we want the search, so that should be down here, right here, search, and it's going to be type artist by default. Alright, so spotify.com/search, and then we're going to need that query, and the query is going to equal, and then we're going to concatenate the string that's passed into the function, and we want to give it an offset parameter. So here we're going to say and offset, which is going to equal 0 because we want it to start at the beginning, and let's do and limit equals 20, and then we're going to do and type equals, now this is going to be that type variable, so we're going to concatenate type, which by default will be artist, and then we're going to specify the market. So we're going to say and market equals US, or of course whatever you'd like. Alright, and then let's see, after that we're going to return this dot underscore http dot get, and here we're going to pass in that search URL, and then we're going to return an observable, so we want to say dot map, and then in here we can say res, and then res.json. Okay, so that'll return the JSON data back to us, so let's save it, and we want to grab that in our component, in our search component. So let's go in that file, and in order to use the service we have to import it, so we're going to say import Spotify service, and that's going to be from, now we're in the search folder, so we're going to go out one and then out another and then into services and then Spotify.service. Then we need to create a constructor, and we need to inject the service, so we're going to say private underscore Spotify service, and we're going to set that to Spotify service. Okay, then we can get rid of this console log, and we need to call the search music function from the service, so we can say this dot underscore Spotify service dot search music. Remember, that takes in a string, so the search string, which we can get with this dot search str, and then we're gonna subscribe to it because it's an observable, and in here we're gonna say res, And down here, let's just do console.log, and we can pass in res.artists.items. Okay, that's what it's going to come back as. So let's save it. And then if we go over here, and let's see. Oh, we got to add it as a provider. So right here, let's say providers, and we just want to pass in Spotify service. All right, and then the other thing we need to do is we need to import the HTTP providers into the main app component. So let's go to app component TS. Where is it? And let's say import HTTP underscore providers. That's going to be at Angular/HTTP. And then we're just going to go down here and we're going to add providers and HTTP providers. Save that. Alright, so that's loading. Now it's giving us a message saying we're using the old forms module. So let's just go into main.ts. And we just want to do another import here. Okay, so we're going to say disable deprecated forms and provide forms from at Angular/forms. Alright, and then we just need to include it down here in this array. So we're going to go like that, and we want to include here the disable deprecated forms, which is a function, and then the provide forms function. Save that, and that should get rid of that message. Alright, good. So now if I start to type, let's say, I don't know, Aerosmith. Okay, so as soon as it matches, okay, so it says response 401 for, let's see, query equals a unauthorized for URL spotify.com search query. Alright, so let's take a look at the service. So I think it's something in this URL. So https api.spotify.com/search query. Oh, we forgot the version right here. We should have v1/search. Alright, let's try that. Yep, there we go. So now you'll see as I type, it's searching and it's bringing back this object. It's basically the results. You can see we have right here, where is it? Name Aerosmith, has a link to the album's images, has image URLs, type is artist, has the popularity. So you can see that it's coming back with a response, which is what we want. Alright, so now that that's working, in the next video what I want to do is bring this response into our page and load them here. Obviously we want to show them, we don't want to just console log them. Alright, so we're going to get into that next.